Hello. Before the religion of Messianic Judaism, of which lots of people have written very informative books that you can go and read, but before the religion of Messianic Judaism, Jewish people in the UK who believed that Jesus was the Jewish Messiah were called Hebrew Christians. Now Christ is the Greek, it means Messiah, it means anointed one. So it's a person of the Hebrew race, a Jew, believing in the Messiah, right? The anointed one. So it's Hebrew Christian, a Hebrew believing in the anointed one, a Hebrew believing in the Messiah, which the Christians believe is Jesus. That's what we were called, right? Now, I was a Jewish believer in Jesus for 42 years, but I'm not now. I am not now. Right, so this is to try and give you a little bit of understanding of what went on for me before Messianic Judaism. Well, you attended church. There was nowhere else to go. I was always the solitary Jew in a congregation of hundreds and hundreds. You could have 600 people in a congregation and I would be the only Jewish person there, right? Now, decades ago, 30 years ago, in the city that I lived, a young Jewish man, a believer in Jesus, had this idea of setting up a group in his home on Friday night where Jewish people who believed in Jesus could meet for Friday night, right? Light the candles, so on, right? You with your own people, but you all believe in Jesus, right? This was the idea, and I really liked it. I thought this would be really helpful, because it's very hard, it's very lonely being the lone Jew in a church. Now this chap was not only Jewish, but he was also an Israeli. So obviously he was fluent in Hebrew and everything. So, you think to yourself, well, it's ideal, isn't it? I mean, really, if anybody's going to set up a group like this, it's a great idea. I think the idea, as I understood it, although he might have different point of view, but as I understood it at that time, it was like a support group, really, for Jewish people who believed in Jesus, meet in a Jewish home, Friday night, light the candles, talk, have a reading, so on, so right. So it started, and it immediately attracted Christians, and that would be the Christians that weren't Jewish. They weren't Jewish, but they'd somehow heard about it and they wanted to come along, right? Now this Jewish young man that had set it up was actually married to a non-Jewish girl, right? Very nice girl, non-Jewish, believing the same thing, right? This is where I think it made it difficult for the leader, because the idea was it was for Jewish people. This is what it's for Jewish people come together. And so you've got a non-Jewish, a Christian wanting to come because they're all curious. So remember, he's intermarried. So this is where it gets difficult. So he allows a few people to come. There was, a Jewish man a Jewish believer in Jesus. He came along, he brought his wife, but she wasn't Jewish, but that's all right, because we all understood, obviously, he's Jewish and he's intermarried, he believes in Jesus and he's brought his wife along, so that's all right, What we didn't really want as Jewish believers were loads of Christians there, the non-Jewish Christians. We didn't want them there. We wanted it to just be Jewish. This is the whole point of the group, to give support to each other and to talk about things which you can't really talk about with non-Jewish Jews, because you're Christians, they won't like it. Particularly things like anti-Semitism in the church and so on. Now, one of the men that came, right, non-Jew, Christian, very nice chap, he'd brought along a Jewish believer in Jesus. This was a man who seemed to be suffering from depression, very much alone in the world, disconnected from the Jewish community. It's hard to determine his age, perhaps 40, living in a bedsit. A bedsit is a single room, but you have to understand in those days it's pretty grotty, not very nice. You know, it's so often bedsits. I've lived in it's not very nice. Unemployed, not much money in those days. The government weren't paying much money. It's really hard being unemployed. So he's alone, he's depressed, he's unemployed, living in, perhaps obviously, grotty accommodation, not very nice. He's hit hard times. He's, very hard. So the Christian had befriended him. How he found him, I don't know. But the Christians do find vulnerable Jewish people. They do. How they do it, I don't know. All sorts of ways. But then other videos will reveal it to you. There are ways they do it. And he was very much in a nice way. He did mean it in a nice way. He was kind of managing this depressed Jew, right? And he was attending the group. Now, what happened was this non-Jewish man, Christian, believed it was a sort of an attempted coup of the group. He said it in the group with the Jewish believers in Jesus there. He said it to the leader, and he said, I believe God has called me to run this group, and I should be the one in charge, not you. So he's saying this to the leader, who is Jewish and is Israeli, and he's saying, I should be in charge, not you. Everybody was in the group was slightly embarrassed by this, because we all could see he was a very nice person. He wasn't anti-Semitic. He'd be the first to speak out if he heard anybody saying anything anti-Semitic. But we were very, very embarrassed for him, because we all realised this is ridiculous. Now, all credit to this leader of the Jewish group. He handled it very, very, very well. I don't think I would have handled it as well, to be honest. Hey, who do you think you are? This is a group for Jewish people. He didn't respond like that. He was very, very... He handled it brilliantly. But still, this man was reluctant to accept it. He believed he'd been called by God to take over this group. So you've already got a tension, and everybody's uncomfortable. What do you do? And he's still coming to the group, right? He's still coming to the group, but there's this threat of a takeover, and there's this feeling of perhaps resentment that people aren't taking him seriously, because remember, he actually believes he's been called by God to run this group, right? And he's still there. Then more Christians started coming to the group. So when I say Christians, I mean non-Jewish people, non-Jewish Christians coming, because there were hardly any Jewish people. I'm trying to count how many Jewish believers. This is a huge area, people coming long distances, and I think there were about 5 of us or something, 5 Jewish people. Massive, people coming distances, and it's 5. Right. And we thought that was a good number. Oh, we've got 5 people. So, this is not London. You have to understand, this is not London. So suddenly they're all coming from the churches, and they all believe they've been called by God to come to this group. Now this group, remember, has been set up for Jewish people, like a Jewish support group, but held Friday night, you see. That was the whole point of it, as I understood it. It was for Jewish people. But you remember the leader's intermarried, and I think this is where it made it difficult for him. You've got the non-Jewish, the Christian, coming. They all believe they're being called by God to come. And that also, Christians do like to, they like fads and fancies, and they like to know any new trend. And they like to, probably some of them just coming out of curiosity. They just want to see what it's like. But it's not meant for them. It's not meant for them. The group's not meant for them. It's meant for Jewish believers in Jesus. It's not meant for them. It defeats the object, really, because I didn't want them there. Other people in the group didn't want them there. Well, we wanted something for ourselves. And also problems you can discuss with fellow Jews about your experiences in the church, which you cannot say in front of a Christian. And all sorts of unpleasant things. It's the Christian will interfere and say, "Oh no, you're exaggerating," and no, this, that, no, because they always deny anti-Semitism or anything. They always deny always deny anti-Semitism. So then you've got leaders from churches, evangelical churches, asking permission from the leader, can we come? Right, we want to see what's going on. So I think I think the difficulty was all about him being intermarried. I think if he hadn't been intermarried, he probably would have said, I don't think it's appropriate, it's just for Jewish people. But I think because his wife was there in attendance, she wasn't Jewish, then people could say, well, look, your wife's there and she's not Jewish, so why shouldn't I be there? You see? This is where it gets tricky. It is tricky. It wouldn't be tricky for me. It wouldn't be tricky for me, I have to be frank. I would say outright to that person, this group is not meant for you. This is for Jewish people only. It's a support group. It's to help Jewish people who believe in Jesus. And that's all it is, and it's not appropriate for you to be here. That's that's the way I would have handled it. And maybe in hindsight, the leader might well agree with me now. I don't know. But I can understand how it was difficult for that leader, bearing in mind that his wife was non-Jewish and she was there, and they're saying, well, your wife's there, she's not Jewish. So suddenly you've got 5 Jews, and you've got all these Christians coming, and it's like spot the Jew. And it's getting ridiculous. It's like 15 non-Jews and 5 Jews, 18 non-Jews and 5 Jews. So the balance is changed. And of course, you have 5 people, but they're not all necessarily attending every week, because you know what life's like. Different things happen. People get ill. People have got commitments. They can't always turn up. So you might have 3 Jews and 18 non-Jews. Now, in the very beginning, a married couple of Jewish believers lived not so far away, and they would pick me up, take me there with them, because this group was such a long way from where I lived. There was no way I could afford to get a taxi home. It would have taken me probably 2 hours to get there, and I would have to get a taxi home. It wouldn't be safe at that time, late at night, going through a city, changing buses and things. And also in those days, taxis were luxury, very, very, very expensive. So they used to take me with them and bring me home with them. Then they stopped. They were sort of ad hoc and not always coming, and had personal commitments of their own, and so they weren't necessarily coming every week. It was all very ad hoc for them. So I needed somebody who would be willing to pick me up and bring me back home again. Now, there was a non-Jewish girl, Christian, attending, called by God. She's been called by God to this group. So she picks me up, and she tells me, she's quite straight with me. She says, I have come here, I've been called by God, and I've been called by God for leadership in this group. I have been called by God for leadership in this group, and that's why I'm coming, for leadership. She's looking to be not the leader, but an assistant leader, a deputy or something, you know, a big shot. So she's envisioning the group's going to grow and develop, and she's going to be in there, being one of the leaders, right? Whether she actually told the leader this, I don't know, but she told me. And my immediate reaction, well, this isn't meant for you anyway. This group is meant for Jewish people. And if there is going to be an assistant leader, I think it should be a Jewish person, because the group is for Jewish people. It's the whole point of it. It's a support group. It's, you know, it's whatever, you know, it's Friday night. It's for Jewish people, Jewish believers in Jesus. Now, when it came to home time, which was about 10:30, you know, the meeting finished at 10. This isn't a private home. People have cups of tea and coffee, and they have a piece of cake, and they have a chit chat, right? Half an hour. This is what usually goes on in people, you know, when people meet up in homes, you know, for Christian meetings and things. So come 10:30, people are getting up to go home. Obviously, it's Friday night. People have worked all week. They're tired. They might have a long journey home. They might not get home till 11:30. People are tired. They want to get home, get to bed. It's a long week. So people were getting up to leave. Come 11:45, and I said, "Oh, we're not going." I was absolutely exhausted by that time. And she said, "No, I'm staying because I want to stay to the very last. Because I want to get to know the leader personally. Because I want to be part of the leadership." Now, I was never very strong. Some years later, I was diagnosed with ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, but there was a build-up. In other words, I didn't realise it, but I probably was in the early stages of ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, and didn't know it, because I had been going to the doctors a lot. I've been getting lots of viruses and lots of infections. I was permanently tired and exhausted. And I didn't have a lot of strength or stamina. So come 11:15, I was absolutely wiped out and exhausted. I'm one of those people, it shows on my face. You know, some people it shows when they get tired. They go white as a sheet, and it's all black, and they look, you know, I'm one of those that shows. When I'm exhausted, it shows. And so I said, "Oh, please, I'm so exhausted. Please, we go now?" Because everybody else is gone. She says, "No." And I begged her, I said, "Please, I am so tired. How long are you going to stay for?" Well, she said, "I'll stay till 1 if it's going to stay up till 1. I'll stay here till 1. Because she's schmoozing because she wants to be a leader. She's got to get pally with him, get friends with him." And I begged her, and I begged her, and I begged her, "Please take me home. Please take me home. I am so tired. I can't cope. I feel dreadful. Please, please, please." She dug her heels in. This was one determined woman. She was going to stay to the very end till she was chucked out by the leader. So the young married couple, remember, so it's Friday night, so they're sitting up late. It's their home, so they're sitting up. And they are sitting up till 12:30, 1:45. And she's staying there. And I'm sitting there. And she wouldn't take me home. Till she decided, until the leader said, "I think we're going to bed now," about 1:45 in the morning. And then she immediately got up, and then she took me home. blow me, the next week, exactly the same thing happened. And then again, and then again. I couldn't cope with this. It's just because because obviously I was very weak then, and I thought, is there somebody else that could bring me back home? I can't remember all the details, but there was another guy, again a non-Jewish Christian, called by God to come to this group. So I said something about, could you pick me up or something and bring me back home or something. I think she wasn't there 1 week or something like that. So he picked me up. Right, he didn't live that far from me. Picked me up, took me there, and again, 10:30, 11:15, everybody's leaving. Everybody's leaving. And guess who decides to stay? This young man. And I said, I am so tired, can we not go now? Because everybody's going home. No, I've been called by God. And I want leadership. I'm here for leadership. I'm here to be, I've been called by God for leadership. And I want to get to know the leader. Because he's got to schmooze and be nice to him and everything else. He said, this is my church. This is my church. So he'd become like a disciple or follower or something, it sounded like this, of this Jewish leader of this group. And I'm thinking, well, this is not meant for you. Anyway, this is meant for Jewish people. And he is saying he regarded this group for Jewish believer as his group. He's been called by God to this group. It's now his, inverted commas, church. He regards it as his church. This is his fellowship. This is where God has called it to be. And so he wouldn't take me home till 1 a.m. in the morning. And then that went on week after week. And I simply couldn't cope with it. I would be dreading it. Because obviously I wasn't in good health. I remember begging him, sitting in the car. We were going, and I said, please, can we leave at 10:30? Everybody else leaves. And I begged him. I said, I get so tired. I'm not very strong. I don't know what's the matter with me at the moment. I am so weak. I can't. Because we weren't getting home. Remember, if we're not leaving till 1:45 in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, he doesn't get me home till 1:45. Right? If we left at 11:15, I wouldn't be in bed till 12 o'clock, midnight. So can you imagine? You can see the situation. If he's not leaving till 12:30 at night, some weeks, I'm not in bed till 1:45 a.m. And I'm clearly not well, not strong, and something's going on. I don't know what's the matter with me. And I've been to the doctor, and they all say, oh, it's just a virus, nothing we can do. Because in those days, we didn't know about ME. We didn't know about chronic fatigue syndrome. And you just dismissed, well, we all get tired. I'm tired. That's the way it was. And I remember begging him. I said, please, 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 can we leave? I felt my request was perfectly reasonable. I wasn't asking him to leave the meeting early. I was just saying, can we leave when everybody else leaves? And he wouldn't. He would not. I am so disgusted with these two people, and I have been for the last 30 odd years. I am so angry, but I'm also so hurt. This group was not meant for them. This group was not meant for them. So I ended up not having to, I couldn't go. This was a group set up for Jewish people, and I wasn't able to go because they are so selfish. They're so selfish. These people that claim to love the Jews. It wasn't just one person who claims to love the Jews, that woman. The second one called by God. And they wouldn't help me, a Jew, attend a support group for Jewish believers in Jesus. They wouldn't help me. They wouldn't help me. The Jew lovers. You all claim to love the Jews. You all claim you love the Jews. but you don't help us. You don't help us. I'm having to beg and beg, not just from one Christian, but a second Christian for a perfectly reasonable request to take me home. To take me home. Everybody else is going home. I'm begging you, I am so tired. I feel terrible. Please take me home. And they wouldn't. They wouldn't. They wouldn't. Now, I'm sorry, but all this business of loving the Jews means nothing, nothing, nothing to me when you treat me like that. When you treat me like that. And it makes me, I am still angry after 30 years. I am still angry. And you say, oh, you haven't forgiven them. I know the evangelicals, Christians list. Oh, you haven't forgiven them. That's your problem. You can't forgive. That is not the issue. Forgiving is no problem. That's not the problem. The problem is I am deeply, deeply hurt, disappointed, and as you can sound, angry. Because you can't get through to these people. I remember trying to reason with this guy in the car. This group isn't meant for you. This is meant for Jewish people. But I've been called by God, he says. The Holy Spirit has directed me here. I am not going to disobey the Holy Spirit. I believe the Holy Spirit wants me to stay till 1 a.m. This is fundamental Christianity. This is what it's like. And I'm saying, begging him, please take me home. I am so exhausted and tired. There's no common sense. It's all up here. He has to obey the Holy Spirit and stay till 1 a.m. while he's got a Jewish person sitting there. I'm sorry. Please take me home. I'm so feeling so tired. And he won't help me. But this is so typical, and I challenge this question, this statement, we love the Jews, because at the end of the day, it's how you treat people. It's how you treat people. You know, it's if a husband is beating his wife and he keeps saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, and he keeps beating her, she will know he doesn't love her. It's how you treat people. Now, so I'm not able to go because I can't cope with all this. The late night, my sort of health is getting worse and worse. People donate money to this group, right? Well, I don't know who it was. The idea why they donated the money, it was probably, I don't know who it was. They donated this money to this group of Jewish believers, and the purpose was to help anybody in that group in times of need. Now, the first person I thought of, and you probably think of, is that man living in the bedsit. And that's a typical example. Because it might be he could have been rehoused and got somewhere nicer, but it's all about deposits, as you know, for accommodation. He wouldn't have the money to put down a deposit. He might have the money to pay the rent, but he wouldn't have the money to pay the deposit. And that's where practical giving can help somebody. It really can change a person's life. So the person can afford to pay the rent, they just can't afford to pay the deposit and a month in advance. So in my view, that would be a very practical way of helping a Jewish person. Right? Guess who got the money? Guess who got the money? The non-Jew. Those two people, that woman and the man, they claimed that money from the group to attend a conference in the United States meant for Jewish believers. This is what they like. This is what they like. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. In my view, it's disgusting. The money that was given for Jewish believers in Jesus, for anything that, could be happening in their lives, and they might need some financial help, whatever it could be. Maybe they wanted to study theology or something, and they needed maybe to buy books or something. It could be anything. And so they write in there, she's claiming the money, the non-Jewish woman who believes she's called by God to this group, she shouldn't be there anyway because it's not meant for her, and she goes to the United States. And I just was so disgusted. But the leader's in a difficult position, remember. He's intermarried. He's married to a non-Jew. It puts him in a very difficult position. As I say, if I was running a group like that, I'd say, no, you're not well, you wouldn't be there in the first place. I wouldn't have you there. I'd say, no, you can't come in. This is not meant for you. But you know, these people are so bloody minded, they'd probably sit on the doorstep and wouldn't leave. That's how bloody minded they are. When they get something in that head, when they believe the Holy Spirit's told them something, they will not budge. I could see a woman like that sitting on the doorstep and refusing to leave. I could see a woman like that, if she was told to leave by the leader, she would refuse to leave. She'd stick it heels and say, I'm not leaving. I have a right to be here. The Holy Spirit has called me here. This is what they're like. This is what evangelical Christianity is like. And this is not about sex, you know. This is just about ordinary people in your high street evangelical churches. I think she attended a Baptist church, I'm not sure, but I'm telling you, this is not about sex. This is not about weird sex, you know, and she's come from strange sect. No, this is ordinary high street evangelical Christianity. And I just think it's so selfish. Selfish. And that was my experience. And I hope you found this useful and informative. And it will give you something to think about and to ask the question, what is love and how should it manifest itself and how should it not manifest itself? And if you are so inconsiderate and selfish to a person in need, because I was a person in need, and you're not prepared to help that person, she should have been helping me. You see, this is another thing, the way it is. They're getting more and more selfish, these Christians that claim to love the Jews. They're doing everything on their terms, you see. She wasn't concerned about me. That man wasn't concerned about me. They weren't seeing what was in front of them, and a tired and exhausted young woman. And it was very, very obvious. And the fact that, you know, I didn't go again, it was obvious. And they weren't helping me. They weren't helping me. And what's the point of saying you love somebody if you don't help them when you're given an opportunity to help them? I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, showing kindness, compassion, wanting to help, come alongside. Don't worry, we'll get you home. You do look tired, we'll take you home. Don't worry, I'll take you home. That's what she should have said. He should have said exactly the same. No, I didn't. Oh, no, don't worry, I'll take you home. You look very tired. You didn't even notice I was tired. I'm pleased to... So that was my experience. And this is true. You couldn't make something like this up anyway. It's so unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Not just one person, but two people who claimed to love the Jews, Christians, and they wouldn't help me when it was so obvious I needed help.